Hey everybody, David from Flash by V-Cycling out here. Got the 698 hypermotard up on the dyno. Get some baseline numbers for us. So if you see, I got the side fairings off. That's because I had to take the tank off to actually get a good tack lead so we can get to a tack lead so we can get a good RPM signal. I left everything's intact. I'm sniffing it out the exhaust instead of removing an O2 sensor to put the wideband right in the exhaust this way. Everything's exactly as it comes from the factory. Nothing's disabled or detached. So the runs that we get will be appropriate. In case anyone was wondering, ECU is not too bad to get out. You do have to remove the tank like I did, and then it's just up under there. So I did remove it, take it out, send a couple pictures to Woolick, hopefully speed that process up. Remember, let's email them. Let's email Woolick or email Woolick. Hey, email Woolick so we can get some of this stuff fixed. As you're going to see, it ain't great as far as tuning stuff. So definitely a huge room for So a couple things I want to point out before we get to the really looking and talking about this dyno run. First was the nice soft rev limiter. You could really hear it kick in on the first video where it just kind of held it right at redline, nice and soft. That was really nice instead of falling on its face. The other thing is because this tack lead was a kind of pain in the butt to get to, I'm sure there will be people that try to cheat and not get a tack lead hookup, and they will use as a way to calibrate off RPM on the dyno, and it never is accurate. So pay attention if you're looking at other dyno runs. Make sure the red line looks right. If not, the torque numbers just ignore. The horsepower number will still be okay, but the torque number will be bad. So to the run. So I normally post my videos or my dyno runs with standard correction factor because my dyno tends to read a little low. But I know since this is, as far as I know, this is the first in the world of anybody releasing rear wheel dyno numbers with it. So I wanted to do SAE because I know that's the standard. And if I didn't, people would complain. So there we go. SAE, we got 70.1 horsepower. So Ducati wasn't lying when they said 77.5 at the crank. We normally estimate between 10 and 15% loss, and we're a little bit less than 10% under that number. So that's a little stronger than I expected. I expected it in the high 60s. The curve, not so great, right? I'm going to show you a couple things and do a lot deeper analysis with this, show you some air-fuel ratios and stuff and some of the stuff that's going on here. But you can tell at the top where it dips around that 8,000, it felt like ignition timing because you could actually feel the bike stumble. And then at the top, I think that's probably a combination of throttle mapping and also some ignition timing restrictions that give us that dump. So let's look at what this would look like. What I think you're going to find is the average of what people put out, because I'm going to show you STD, standard correction factor. And we look at it in standard correction factor, it comes up to 70, basically 72.5. Now, like I said, I've been using my dyno a number of years. It tends to read a little bit low. I'm guessing that if we're lucky enough to get 10 different places to dyno it on a typical dyno jet, inertia dyno like mine, that this would be around the centering mark of what we'll see somewhere. So either way, somewhere between 70 and 72.5 horsepower, pretty damn good for a stock single that is fueled poorly, because wait till I show you the next one where we have air fuel in it, and we obviously have some restrictions in it. And what we have here is, now I'm showing you the air fuel curve on the bottom. So these are two back-to-back, literally 10-second apart runs. And you can see there's a huge difference in the bottom. And I will look at why. So let's just look at this air fuel ratio and the red line, right? The red run. On the red run, we can see that the air fuel is extremely lean, like around 14.8. And then a little bit past $4,000, it comes down and it's under 13. And then it just keeps getting richer and richer and richer all the way out to red line, where it's like a little bit over 12, which is pigly rich. Like, so this thing needs a lot of help here, right? And then right next run was the blue run. And you can see at the bottom between $4,000 and like $6,000, it's like, looks like shit. And you're like, well, why? Well, look down at the air fuel ratio and you see the blue line stayed in that lean area way longer. You're like, well, why would this happen? Well, this is when the O2 sensor is shutting off. And a lot of misconception on O2 sensors in the motorcycle world. The O2 sensors on our motorcycles or in this motorcycle is a narrowband O2 sensor. It's not helping the bike run better. It's purely emissions. And there's a lot of inconsistency when it turns off and on always, but I've never seen one this bad. So the difference in the two runs is that it took longer for the O2 sensor to shut off in the second run, where it didn't shut off till like after 6,000 RPMs, even though I was at full throttle, which normally they shut off way before that. And that caused that really poor spike, you know, the really low power output between 4 and 6 grand. So this is horrible. So again, email Woolick. The email is in the description. If we can turn the O2 sensors off and tune this properly, I'm confident that there is a mid-70s, 75-ish, probably-ish horsepower run in here if we correct this air fuel and get rid of restrictions and stuff like that. The next video I'm going to show you, I have the bike on the dyno. I'm showing you a video of my computer screen. In the middle, you will see a graph with air-fuel ratio, and then you will see attack and horsepower coming out. But this isn't really about making power. It's to show you on a light throttle. I have to keep increasing the throttle so the RPMs will climb. Watch how long the bike stays in the high 14s for air-fuel ratio. It's almost the entire run. Basically, we go out to 8,000 RPMs before the air-fuel gets to anywhere where we would really want it for good throttle response and power. And it's hard to hear the bike because it's a little bit away, but you can hear it hiccuping and stuff. So, yeah, not great, not great. Well, that was impressively bad, wasn't it, huh? It wasn't kidding, right? So it's amazing this bike runs as well as it does what I've seen with the air-fuel ratio. Now, I like to remind people the dyno's not perfect for what the test that I just did. The load is almost nothing, so the air-fuel will be a little different if we did this data logging it on the road, but it gives you the idea. The thing is just not fueled properly. I'm surprised it feels as good as it does with that fueling. So this next run here is an all gear run. You can see besides first gear, they're all pretty close. No real restrictions in any of the gears. Maybe gear one. Sometimes gear one's so hard because it just spins up so quick. But I did want to be able to get this so that after I can tune it, that we could see if what kind of improvements I make in these lower gears. Otherwise, I'm impressed that there's no gear-based restrictions that are worse per gear. You can see this is speed-based, so because if I put them at RPM, they'd all just lay over top of each other. You wouldn't really be able to make sense out of it. And we can see, if we look at the bottom in the top 6 gear run, we got to about 125 miles an hour. So if this bike hits red line in top gear, theoretical top speed is 125 miles an hour. And lastly, let's just take a look at all the modes. Full and medium power basically are the same, and then low power mode is greatly reduced. We can see where they just starts cutting it, and I'm sure there are throttle restrictions that kick in right around 7,000 RPMs. I kept having issues with it in medium power mode where I couldn't get it to come out of closed loop or having the O2 sensor on too long, so I actually got was able to get it to get a little bit better by starting to run a little later. So that's why if you paying attention, you'll see that the medium power doesn't kick in until 4,200 when I hit the gas, but no big deal. So medium power and full power, the only difference is how they feel. Like I said in my previous video, I still feel that full power is not aggressive enough on the throttle, but it might just be that fueling that's making it feel that way. I won't really know until I'm able to tune it, because when we have air-fuel ratios in the high 14s like that, throttle response is going to suck. So, again, I'm going to say it one more time. Email Woolick, please, if you're at all interested in this bike so that we can get this added to the software. Thanks, guys, for watching. Really appreciate it. Remember to hit that subscribe and like button for more motorcycle-related content. We're not sure what's going to be next with the hypermotard, but I'll keep having as much content as possible. Thank you, guys. Take care.